Sujata, there's clearly a lot of hesitation and misconceptions out there. What would you say to someone who's considering a trial but is hesitant?
I would say speak to your provider, speak to your doctor, and get all these myths kind of busted to say like, oh, is it going to be expensive or whatever those questions are. And then through that process, also try and understand, what is it that the study is trying to achieve? How is that going to be beneficial to you? So in my instance, it wasn't the last line of defense. It was just one of the processes or combos that would help me. And so, that was important for me to understand, and then a little bit of education as well. So I have questions on my phone every time I meet my provider, and I did the same thing. So I think that one of the good practices is keep your note of your questions and have those questions ready. And no question is silly. All questions are important. So ask as many questions as you can and use that opportunity to, educate yourself about it. And maybe you realize like, no, I don't think it's working for me, or I don't think this trial is good for me. But it's important to have that conversation with your provider. That's what I would recommend highly.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Pollack, if someone is interested in participating, how can they find out about what trials are even available for them?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is to start by just asking your doctor if they know about any clinical trials. And if you are, a lot of the times the clinical trials are run at the big medical centers that may be close to you. So you could ask your doctor, if there's any clinical trials at the big medical center even. Or I always think it's a good idea to get a second opinion. You could go get a second opinion at the big medical center that's close to you and ask them what clinical trials are at your center. And sometimes they'll be conscious about some of the clinical trials that may be even run around the country. And you can ask about that as well.
Would specialists have more information about clinical trials than, say, a general practitioner?
I specialize in rare cancers. So a lot of the times the general practitioners, they've got my cell phone number, and they text me and they say, hey, do you have a clinical trial going on right now? And that happens all the time. But yeah, the specialists will usually, because frankly, there's so much to know, and the general practitioners really have a lot to keep track of with all the different types of diseases that are out there. Whereas at the big centers, the specialists, part of their job is really to keep their tabs on what's going on with the clinical trials. So, they're good people to ask. Either, your local doctor could reach out to them, or you could go get a second opinion and ask.
There is also a lot of information, Catherine, on like sites such as like LLS or PEN or American Cancer Society, that they also publish a lot of information. Of course, I would recommend like once you have that information, then vet it by your specialist or whatever. But if you're interested in knowing more about clinical trials in general and like some that would work for you, then those are also some places to get information from.
That's great information. Thank you. I was going to ask you about that, Sujata. Well, before we end the program, Dr. Pollack, I'd like to get your final thoughts. What message do you want to leave the audience with related to clinical trial participation?
Yeah, I think clinical trials, it can be a very rewarding thing for a lot of patients to do. I think patients really like learning about the new treatments, and I think a lot of patients really like being a part of pushing the therapies forward, in addition to feeling like sometimes they're getting a little bit of an extra layer of scrutiny because there's a whole extra team of research coordinators that are going through everything, and getting access to something that isn't available yet to the general population. So I think there's a whole host of advantages of going on clinical trials, but you need to figure out whether a clinical trial is right for you.
Yeah. Sujata, what would you like to add?
Absolutely. Second, everything that Dr. Pollack is saying. And in my personal experience, like I wouldn't say everything is like hunky-dory, everything is fine. Like I'm going through treatment. I have chemo every 4 weeks. I started with chemo every week. That's when the logistics piece was like really difficult, because like going to Mayo every week was not easy. But anyways, as the trial progresses, it's now every 4 weeks. But as I said, the benefits are huge, because like I have labs every 4 weeks. I meet my provider every 4 weeks. So, we go through the labs, and, anything amiss, I've had some, changes to my dosage because I've had some, changes in the labs. And so, there's a lot of scrutiny, and which I like. But the flip side, or maybe for some, maybe like, oh, I have to have chemo every 4 weeks. Do I want to do that or not, or whatever? In my case, I knew it and I signed up for it, and I'm committed to doing that for 2 years. And so I'm fine with that. So I would say, all in all, I see more benefits of being in a clinical trial. One, you're motivated to give back to the community. Two, you are being monitored. And so your health is is important to your provider, just as it is to you. And so I highly recommend being part of a trial if it works for you and if you're eligible for one.